Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kryptonite. So let's dive in.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, and if you like the video at the end, click on the thumbs up.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kryptonite, the crypto investor channel. I'm Boris, so let's dive in. Today I'm with Colton. How you doing, Colton?
I'm doing great, Boris. How are you?
Good. So today we're going to talk about DeFi and what is it, what can we do with it, and everything else. So go ahead.
Let's start off with the first question. What is DeFi and what are some of the benefits it offers?
So DeFi is decentralized finance. What it brings to people is the ability to make some money by staking it or borrowing money, pretty much replacing banks as far as borrowing money. So you can borrow against money you already have. You can borrow against coins you already have. So this is great. Let's say that you have, let's take an example. You have $50,000 in Bitcoin, for instance, and you want to buy a new car, and that new car is worth, let's say, $20,000. Maybe it's not a new car or whatever, but you have those coins and you believe that they're going to go up. For instance, you're like, you know what, I'm in this market for the long run. I don't want to sell them now, because if I sell them to buy my car, so let's say I have $50,000, I need $20,000 for the car. If I sell $20,000 worth of Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin goes up over the next 2-3 years, I'm going to lose money. That car is going to cost me quite a bit of money, because I'm going to have to sell coins to buy that car. And a car usually is a depreciating asset, so it doesn't make any money. So basically, you're like, man, would then be great if I was able to borrow against those coins. And that's what you can do with DeFi. You have lots of different platforms out there. I think one of the ones that I like the best is Celsius. I've actually borrowed money with them. They're a great platform. Now, depending on the coin, depending on a few things, they will do a percentage. They'll give you a percentage of your coins when you borrow. Meaning that, let's say, if they say we're going to loan you 30% loan to value, LTV. It's usually they write that LTV. It's loan to value. So if they do 30%, well, if you have $50,000 dollars worth of Bitcoins, they will loan you 30% LTV. So they'll loan you $15,000 against your $50,000 worth of Bitcoins. There will be a margin call number in there, which is, for instance, okay, if the price of Bitcoin drops by a certain amount, like if it goes to half of it, they may ask you like, hey, either you need to put back some money, or we're going to liquidate your position, which means they will sell your coins, to get their money back. And at some point, they also put a liquidation number, which might be like when it's getting close to the total value of the loan they gave you, they're going to liquidate to make sure that, because obviously DeFi, the point for them is to always make sure they're going to see their money back. Now, of course, if the coins keep on going up, then there's no problem. Nothing is going to happen. The great thing about Celsius is usually they do about a 30% LTV. And for that, they give you a 1% interest rate. So it's an API, it's an annual percentage, and it's 1% per year. And the minimum you can borrow is 6 months. So you would be paying 0.5% on $50,000. So that would be basically $250, to pay, if it was, let's say, a $50,000 loan. On a $50,000 loan for 6 months at 1%, you would be paying $250 worth of interests. So that would be pretty low. The other thing that's great is you can reimburse. Now, if you reimburse within the first 6 months, they will still charge you the $250. So there's no point really in reimbursing early. But after 6 months, you can extend the loan. You can extend it to 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, so you can make it longer. But at that point, after 6 months, you can reimburse without any penalties of any kind, which usually that's where banks get you pretty good is, they have a lot of different things. Now, the other great thing about DeFi that you don't get in banks is because it is a loan against your cryptos, paperwork is virtually zero. I mean, all they care about is you do have those coins on the Celsius, in your Celsius account. They're there. They're going to lock that amount. You won't be able to withdraw. You won't be able to sell it. But until you have reimbursed, of course, the loan, at which point they will become available again for trading or sending somewhere else or whatever. But for the 6 months, that's going to be locked. And if you extend the loan, they'll stay locked, obviously, because they have to be able to sell them in case of a problem. But paperwork is virtually zero. The turnaround time is 24 hours at the most. Sometimes I've had loans as fast as 5-10 minutes. It depends, what time of the day. It depends on a few things. But usually it's very, very fast. So that's the great thing. No paperwork. They don't verify your income. They don't verify a ton of stuff that if you go to a regular bank and you say, hey, I want a loan for $20,000 to buy a car, they're going to be like, great, let's see some paychecks, pay stubs. Let's see some, your revenue this year. You have to, basically it becomes a pretty big deal. And usually banks take, if it's for a car loan, they may take days for them to get it approved. If it is for a house, it takes literally months to get approved. So the great thing about those DeFi loans is that they're very, very fast and very easy. They're painless. There's virtually no paperwork, because you have the collateral to make sure that the loan is actually secured. So, and the rate is pretty amazing. 1%, with no penalty fees past 6 months, it's much better than most loans you would get from a bank. A bank, if they give you a 3-year loan for your car, if you pay it early, they're going to make you pay all kinds of penalties. They're going to make sure they're going to make sure they're going to make the extra money that they were supposed to make for the 3 years, even though you're trying to pay it down in like a year or 2 years, because you're like, hey, I don't need 3 years anymore because I got a raise or I got some money that came in or whatever. But in DeFi, it's very easy to get rid of it. In banks, it's a lot more difficult. So I think that's the beauty of DeFi, and that's why some of the big projects like Aave or Synthetics or Celsius, they actually doing very, very well, and lots of people are borrowing money because it is easy, it is quick, and you can repay it pretty much at any time. So without big penalties. And also the other thing that's great is whenever you borrow money on those different platforms and those different protocols, you don't have all kinds of fees. Whenever you go to the bank and you're like, I want to borrow $20,000, like, oh yeah, there's a $500 fee for the doing the paperwork or for applying for the loan. There's a a loan applying fee of $178, and so you hit with all kinds of fees left and right, and you're like, my gosh, I'm paying a ton of fees everywhere. In DeFi, they don't do that. So it's great because you really get the full amount, and you don't have to spend a whole bunch of money on a bunch of fees.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I've been doing some research on this, and you see the finance world, social media, Google Trends, etc. People are saying DeFi is the future of finance. Do you personally believe that this is the future of finance?
Well, it's definitely going to grow. I mean, right now, I don't think it's easy enough to have mass adoption because you would have to have crypto, you would have to have an account with, let's say, a Celsius or Aave or one of those big platforms. So some of them are not too difficult, but it is still a little cumbersome. It is. It reminds me a little bit of the early days on buying stuff online. Some of it was not always super easy. Now today it's super easy. Even an Amazon or whatever, they keep your credit card on file. You just click purchase and then you click pay and it's already done. They may ask you for a security number just to make sure it's really you or whatever, but it's virtually painless. I think once the crypto world has made it as easy, as possible, they will get mass adoption. But I don't know if you saw, but the CEO of Twitter just left his job and is now, because he was also the boss of Square, and Square is that payment system, and they renamed themselves to Block. So now as in blockchain. So he's going to be big time into crypto, and he's going to be really working on making payments easier with crypto money and making all those things a lot easier. So I think once we're going to have ease of use all over the place, we're going to see mass adoption. So right now, it's probably the people that are a little bit more knowledgeable that are starting to use the DeFi, but it's going to go fast. Give you an example. So far in Aave, for instance, they have over $27 billion in loans. So lots of money, already is being used and loaned, on those DeFi platforms.
Yes, sir. And the last question I have for you today on DeFi is, people always are scared of risks and they want to mitigate their risk. Could you explain what type of risks there are with DeFi and how to mitigate them?
Sure. So the biggest risk is really liquidation. To me, that's where, if the market tanks, so if you are getting a loan against some of your crypto, if the market tanks or if there is a big dip, and you are under the threat of being liquidated, that's where there could be some danger, because obviously, let's say there's a big dip, but then it comes back up a week or a few days later or a month later or whatever, and you're like, oh my God, if I'd been able to hold on to my loan for a little longer, if they had not liquidated me, I would be almost right back where I was, and I wouldn't have lost, all that money. Now, you did get the loan, so it's not like you lost it all, and since they liquidated your position, you don't owe them anything anymore. They have liquidated so that your loan is covered, but you're in a position where you're like, man, I had $50,000 worth of Bitcoin. It went down to whatever, 25,000. They liquidated me. Now it's back to 45. I wish, I had not been liquidated, because I would still have my Bitcoin and my loan, everything would be intact. So one good way to prevent those problems is don't overborrow. Don't go all in and say like, oh yeah, I have $50,000. The most I can borrow is 15,000. Let me borrow the whole 15,000. Because if you do that, if there is a dip, you won't be able to do any margin calls. You won't be able to say, you know what, let me put a few more coins towards the loan so they don't liquidate me. because it's a dip. I know it's temporary. It's probably going to come back. So there's no point. So if, let's say, you only had borrowed $10,000, well, if there's a big dip, you still have some coins that are not in the collateral. You can add some more, to make sure you don't get liquidated. So ideally, and depending, of course, on the amounts you have and the amount that you need, et cetera, I would always try to keep kind of a low number. If you can borrow up to maybe 20, 30% of your total position. So give you an example. If you have $50,000, I think it's safe to say I can use, let's say, maybe 10 of that, to do a loan, which of course with $10,000, you're only going to borrow 3,000, and I'm giving that as an example. You may have 100,000, you could have $200,000, and then, you can do the math. It's pretty easy, but I wouldn't borrow too much, 20, maybe as much as 30%. But at least, like I said, if the market dips, you still are able to cover quite a bit because you only use 10,000 of your 50,000 to borrow. You borrow 3,000, and if the market dips and there's a margin call, you still have $40,000 of coins that are your coins that are untouched, and you can say, okay, I need to give them a few more coins, to cover the margin call and make sure I'm not liquidated. So that's definitely what you want to do, because you don't want to be, like I said, in the position. That's the biggest risk for you.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, you've borrowed some money, so the money you already got, and you get it in. That's the other cool thing is whenever you borrow money on those protocols, they usually give it to you in a few different forms. It could be USDT, so that you can use to maybe buy a few more coins or do a few more things. Or it could be US dollars, or it could be a lot of different fiat currencies like euro or British pound or whatever. So you can borrow that money in different forms to do different things. So it's not always like only in US dollars or only in this or only in that. No. Usually you have several choices for borrowing the money. So that's also something that's great.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yes, sir. And from my side, Boris, I have no more questions today, but I appreciate all the feedback and honesty here. But if you'd like to add anything, feel free.
Sure. So I think we're going to see those DeFi projects, pick up over time. They're pretty. They're getting more and more popular. There are lots of platforms out there. Go compare the rates. There are different rates. There are different LTVs, different loan to value, depending on the platform. Sometimes it also depends on the coin that you're staking, because some coins are more stable than others. So they may give you a different percentage. So you have Celsius, you have Aave, you have BlockFi, you have Nexo, you have a few different ones, and literally the rates are pretty different from one to another. So do your research, a little bit like if you were to shop for a bank because you're going to buy a car or buy a house. You go shopping for rates. You go shopping, making sure you're getting the best rate out there for your loan. So it works the same way in DeFi. So go shop around. Try to stick with some of the bigger ones out there. You probably don't want to be with a small company. Celsius, BlockFi, Nexo, Aave. Those are big DeFi. Protocols and platforms, and so all those loans, they come with different things. Another thing that I like also about Celsius is the fact that they almost rarely liquidate anybody. They give you a lot of chances to redeem yourself or to cover the position. Some other platforms, I think maybe BlockFi, they liquidate more easily. So some people were upset because, boom, there's a big dip one night and they were they had borrowed to the max and they got liquidated, and they're like, man, BlockFi didn't even call me or didn't give me a chance, to do anything about it. So research those different platforms, see which one is the best. So far, like I said, I've had a good experience with Celsius. It's been pretty easy. Another thing also to keep in mind, one last thing, is be careful. You might not be able to borrow in every country or every state. Even in the US, depending on the states you live in, the borrow function does not work because unfortunately your state does not allow those type of loans. Sometimes it's based on the country. Some countries don't allow the loans. So that's another thing you need to be aware of, and that you need to do research, because you don't want to open an account with a company and then you discover once you start doing it, you transfer coins and then you try to borrow and then they tell you, oh, sorry, we don't do it in your region. So do check it out, do verify before you do any kind of loans that it's possible on the platform that you choose in your country or in the state that you live in. Very good.
Awesome.
So thank you, Colton. Thank you, everyone. We hope this video helps, and we look forward to see you on the next Crypto Night video. Thank you. Bye-bye. I hope this video helps. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. And if you like the video at the end, click on the thumbs up.